Welcome to Let's Be Real 100%, where we are 100% real about life. We know that life happens and we are here to talk about it. And when I say we, I'm talking about it's all God and little old me. Join us as we jump into our topic today. Good morning. Welcome back to another episode of Let's Be Real 100%, where we are 100% real about life. Today's episode, we will be talking to Miss Tina Sibley. She's going to take us on a journey about her life's journey, and how she overcame some things. I hope you enjoy this episode, and we'll talk to you soon. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good, good, good. I was just looking at some of your posts on Facebook. You have been on a journey.
Yeah, I absolutely have.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, first, let me introduce myself to you. I know I didn't get to really just introduce myself in the messages, but my name is Sean. And I began this podcast because I wanted to have a place where we can have conversations, where people can share their stories, and also allow others to have confidence in overcoming their obstacles as well. So, um,
Fabulous.
yeah, so I've, in my podcast, I've shared, my story as well, and I want to allow other people to share theirs so that, people feel like they won't be alone, in their
Absolutely.
journeys. So, I would like to start off with a, what do you call it? A icebreaker.
Okay.
Um, so my question to you: if money and time were not an object, what would you be doing right now?
Oh, crikey. I would be going on adventures all around the world where I combine having fun with helping people. I did a lot of volunteering last year in Tanzania.
Okay.
I worked with on a women's volunteer program, helping them to learn how to set up their own business. So I felt that I was contributing, but at the same time, I was having a lot of fun. And then, of course, I did Kilimanjaro again. So I would literally go around the world, helping people, having fun, and basically spreading sunshine. That's what I would be doing.
I love that. I definitely love that. I saw the video where were climbing. You were climbing something I can't remember, but you was giving the rocks a hug and giving them giving it a kiss,
Yeah,
and I was like, "Oh,
that was
that is so cool."
Kilimanjaro.
I was like, "That is so cool." I was like, "Yeah, one day I'm gonna overcome my fears, and I'm gonna go and just go. Like I'm not even gonna, second guess the go. I'm just gonna go
Yeah,
because
I
being
highly recommend it. In fact, I'm running trips to combine the climbing and the hiking on the mountain with personal development because it's so life changing. It is amazing. It really, really is.
I believe it. That's why I said before I leave, I'm gonna have me a whole the biggest bucket list ever, and I'm just gonna just like I said, I'm just gonna do it because I mean, like there's nothing that's holding you back but life. You know what I mean? So why
Exactly.
not enjoy it? Yeah. So tell me a little bit about yourself, other than your adventures. I know you broke some things down to me via messages, so you can let me know anything else.
Um, Well, I mean, crikey, I've got a bit of a background now because I'm 63 now, so it's been kind of a long journey.
Okay.
But I kind of been married twice. My first husband was alcoholic, and that was really difficult. And then when I came out of that, and then after a while, I met somebody else, and he
Mm.
basically cheated on me, left me with a lot of debt. I ended up going bankrupt, and around that time I changed my career from working in a bank in financial services to working in training and development. And so I had access all of a sudden to coaching principles and personal development. And that was life changing. That gave me the tools to deal with all the emotions and the difficulty that I went
Mhm.
through. And I strongly recommend to anybody to start if you can afford to, then work with a coach. If you can't, then there is so much information out there now that you can get through books and videos and
Mm-hmm.
all that kind of thing. Because I mean, like when I was, I guess right the way up until when I was about 40, I'd never heard of any of this stuff. And so it was just, and it's crazy because in a way, my background was I learned how to behave and how to deal with situations from what I was seeing on TV. And that's
Right.
not how you want to deal with stuff. And
Yeah, what they show on
that's
TV is not always. Yeah, everything they show on TV is not always right. It's definitely not always right.
yeah. So, but once I started working and training and coaching, and then I started to realize, you know what? There's a different way of dealing with this.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, then everything changed, and then I kind of I started being much more positive, and I started realizing that I needed to have fun. So I
Mm-hmm.
started salsa dancing, and
Oh.
that again saved me. It really did, because all of a sudden I was able to go out there and have fun, and it, wasn't expensive. And
Mm-hmm.
in fact, okay, so sometimes the lessons can be expensive, but
Right.
you can just go to a bar and dance for free a lot of the time,
Right.
and you learn that way. So, and I didn't actually start traveling until I was 57. I'd had the odd holiday here and there before, but
Right.
nothing, major in the way of traveling. And once I started traveling, my eyes were opened up again, and I met different people. And for me, it's just like, wow. And then when I went to places like South America and I did the Inca Trail and just seeing the different cultures, and then certainly when I went to Tanzania, and I realized, especially the people in Tanzania, they have nothing, but they're so happy compared to,
Right.
the rest of the so-called civilized world.
Right.
And they are so warm and friendly and positive, even though, if you look at the kind of houses that they live in, I mean, they're so below standard of what we live in. And yet
Right.
they're so happy. It was just incredible. It was very eye-opening when I started doing that.
Oh, that's amazing. That's one thing I've learned. When you are grateful over a little,
Mm,
um, it tends to you be more grateful when you do have, and then when you'll know how to manage and you'll know how to, live life with
yeah.
the minimum. So that's always a good lesson to learn, because we're not
Yeah.
gonna always have everything, um, that we want and need at the time. So that's an
Mm.
amazing story um, to experience. So you were talking about your marriages and how you went through the bumpy rides with that. Like, what kind of advice would you give a person that is looking to be married and wanting to start off that journey? What kind of advice would you give them?
I think the key thing, which I didn't know about at the time, is just making sure that you're compatible. Uh, it's very easy to fall in love with somebody,
Hmm.
but you've got to make sure that you share the same values, and
Hmm.
also that you want the same things out of life. Because, like for example, with hindsight, I probably should have seen the way that my first husband was drinking.
Hmm.
But I closed my eyes to it because I didn't want to see it. He was a lot of fun. He was a nice person. So I
Hmm.
kind of paid no attention to the red flags. And I think we need to trust our gut. We need to trust our intuition. And if
Hmm.
there are red flags, we gotta take notice of them. Now,
Yes.
with my second husband, that wasn't so easy because he was a typical con man. And I don't know how you avoid that, if I'm honest.
Right.
All you can do is when things start going wrong, when they, if they show you a very different side to themselves
Hmm.
after a while, no matter how kind of much your feelings are for them, you have to then kind of think, oh, hang on a minute, this is not the person that I fell in love with. And
Right.
then you need to kind of start protecting yourself and your boundaries, and then, don't let it go too far. Fortunately, I mean, I got into another relationship after my second marriage, but I'd learned my lesson. I mean, he was a very nice man, but I realized that we wanted different things.
Mm-hmm.
And we probably should have just stayed friends. But because of what I'd learned from, especially the first time, I'm like, yeah, this isn't how I want to spend my social time.
Right.
So fortunately, with that relationship, we were able to part as friends. We're still friends now. So I didn't go down the whole heartbreak. I mean, yeah, I was sad that it didn't work out, but it
Right.
wasn't as traumatic as it could have been if I'd,
Right.
um, not had my eyes open a little bit more. Let us put it that way. And now I'm kind of really picky. Now I'm what I call successfully single. Yeah,
No.
at some point, if I meet somebody, fantastic, but they've got to be the right person,
Right.
because there's nothing worse than being with the wrong one, and you can feel more lonely with the wrong
Yes.
person than you do without anybody. Because I
Right.
have a very full and active social life. I have friends. I'm always out having fun and doing things. And for me now, a partner is a nice to have, not an absolutely,
Mm-hmm.
not an
Must.
absolute necessity. Exactly,
Right.
not a necessity.
Okay.
And
Well,
that's the first thing.
mm-hmm.
Is Sean is I think the important thing is, in order to do all of that, you have to first of all know yourself. And that's why the personal
Yes.
development is so useful. It's kind of, do you even know what your values are? Do you know
Right.
what drives you and makes you tick, and what motivates you to behave in certain ways, and, what your triggers are? And because once you know yourself,
Mm-hmm.
it's easier to pick somebody who is right for you and not be um, kind of sucked into a relationship with somebody who's wrong for you.
Right. That's so true. That is so true. So, do you feel like, as a child, and you start to see, you see
Mm,
different relationships, like your parents and your grandparents, or
yeah,
friends, moms and parents. Do you feel like that truly affects the person that you meet as well?
yeah, yeah, and we don't even realize how we are programmed, because it all happens like when we're very young and we don't even remember. But we can be sitting on the floor playing,
Mm-hmm.
and our parents are having a conversation, and they're not even directing that conversation at us, but we overhear it, and that goes in, and that, kind of is stored in our brain. And then at some point in the future, when we're trying to make sense of something, we remember all of this. We don't know where it comes from, but we just think, oh, hang on a minute. And this is especially true for things like, I help people overcome, for example, the fear of public speaking. And
Okay.
people are like, why am I so scared? And I'm like, well, probably you were sat down on the floor playing with your Lego one day, and when you were about 3 years old or 4 years old, and you
Mm-hmm.
overheard somebody saying about somebody else, oh, who do they think they are? Nobody likes to show off, you know?
Yeah,
So
makes
we
sense.
pick we pick up this stuff. It's so subtle. And that's where it's really useful to, know yourself, where these fears come from, where the triggers come from, what to do about it. And that's why working with a coach is, priceless, really. I wish I'd had access to a coach when I was in my mid 20s. I tell you, I
Yes.
think life would have been very different for me.
Yes, that is so true. That is so true, and I believe a lot of people can relate to that. One shoulda,
Yeah.
like I shoulda, coulda, woulda. Like I wish I would have known these things back then, so that so we wouldn't have had to go through the path that we did. But
Mm.
now that we know the path that we did, we can focus on the next generation, or focus on the next person that comes in line to us, so that we'll be able to, help and lead and guide them, so they won't have to, bump their heads on a rerun that we went through.
Exactly,
So
exactly. Yeah, and it just then is also, difficulties that we go through, we do learn and we do become stronger. I mean, it's a real cliche, but that saying about what doesn't kill us makes us stronger.
Mhm.
It's a cliche because it's true, and but what we do have to do is take the time to sit down and go, okay, that didn't go to plan. What lesson can I draw from that?
Yes.
That's
Yes.
where people keep repeating the same mistakes and problems because they don't kind of sit back and kind of figure out, hang on a minute, what could I have done differently there? What is
Right.
this trying to teach me? They just kind of bumble through life, and therefore they keep coming up against the same thing because they didn't like deal with the lesson and take it on board like last
Yeah.
time. Yeah,
Yeah, that's
it's
what I've learned through the journeys. I've learned actually the last 2 years, honestly, I've learned to change my vocabulary, especially when it comes down to something that I've been through. I'll say, we used to say, "Why me? Why me?" And then I'll
mm,
say, I've learned to say, "Why not me?" And then after that, I'll say, "Okay, what lesson? Like you said, what lesson can I learn from this? Like, what can I grab from this?" So when
exactly.
it does come back up again, I take that lesson that I learned and apply it to, what's ahead of me now. So I won't, stumble over it again. And if I do, I still again take that lesson and take it to the next level. So
Yeah,
um
absolutely. And it doesn't matter how dark a situation seems. Often it's because there's something better coming. I remember when my second husband cheated on me, and then I got the whole "you're paranoid," all this kind of thing
mhm
because I started to question and suspect, and I really had my mind messed with. And I remember at the time kind of almost begging the universe and, God and anybody who would listen, please,
mhm
don't take this away from me. And it was so painful, but you know what? It's the best thing that could have happened to me. Separating myself from that situation,
mhm
my life turned around. Gosh, 6 months afterwards, that was when I started dancing salsa. I started having a social life. I started having fun. And I've never looked back. I'm not saying I haven't had difficult times.
right
I've had difficult times, but when if I could only speak to that person that I was begging the universe to make this work out,
mhm
and I could say to myself, no, you don't want it to work out. What you've got coming is way better.
way better. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Um, and I recognize now that that's just, it was just paving the way for better things for me.
Yes. Yes. And we just all we had to do is just open up and be like, okay, it's gonna happen.
Yeah,
And I believe like when you're talking about how you start after 6 months later you started doing different activities and stuff, and those kind of activities, any kind of activity, honestly, that brings you joy, bring you happiness.
yeah,
It's a stress relief. It's like, okay, I can go out and let me take this moment and just release everything while I'm dancing, taking those steps. Every step that I take is a step forward.
yeah,
Every step, everything that I do is something, moving forward to my next journey in life. So yeah, that's definitely a really good thing. That's gonna give me an idea for me and my husband. I need to learn how to salsa dance. That'll bring us a little closer,
yeah,
and bring it, help us do other stuff instead of going through the same
absolutely.
routines. Yeah. So,
And
um,
talking about steps, I mean,
yes.
that was my next thing that I got into, which was only 5 years ago now, less than that, 4.5 years ago. I
Mhm.
began hiking, and I'd never been a hiker before. And in fact, when I moved from the UK to Spain, which is where I
Mhm.
live now, I saw people posting on Facebook some of the places that they were visiting in their hiking group, and I thought, wow, that looks amazing. So I
Yeah.
said, I'd love to join you. And they said, no, don't be daft. You're, too overweight. You're unfit. You wouldn't be able to keep up. You're scared
Right.
of heights. And I thought, well, I'd like to at least try. So I did try to join them, and they were quite right. I couldn't keep up, and I was scared of heights. So I just dealt with that. And then I realized I want to hike the Inca Trail. I'd always wanted to go to South America and hike the Inca Trail.
Mhm.
And that was a big deal for me. And I wasn't sure if I was capable, but I decided to set a plan and I worked on my health and my weight and my fitness. And I
Mhm.
worked on my fear of heights and dealt with it. And I did it and I enjoyed it so much that the feeling I got of feeling unstoppable, and I was like, this is what I want to focus my work on in future. I want to go back to my roots of coaching and helping
Mhm.
people to do this. And then when I came back, somebody said to me for a joke, "Oh, what's next then, Tina? Kilimanjaro?"
Oh
And now,
wow.
when if you'd have said to me 5 years ago, "Oh, what about hiking Kilimanjaro?" I would have just laughed at them, and I would have said, "Yeah." It wouldn't even have been on my radar as
Right.
something remotely possible. But once I'd done the Inca Trail, I was like, "Well, why not? Let's see what I'm capable of." And of course,
Mhm.
I did Kilimanjaro not just once but twice.
Right.
And yeah, it was hard, but all of a sudden it opened up my mind to, gosh, I can do so much more than I thought I was capable of. And that's a message
Right.
for everybody. We can always do more than we think we can. There's a lovely quote, I think, a Winnie the Pooh one that, you're braver and stronger and smarter than you think. And it's true. We really are. We can do way more than we think we can.
Right. That is so true. That is so true. Yeah, I was gonna bring that point up, like, how the process was when you faced your fears of hiking the trail. Like, what was the mindset? What was your process on, you
Well,
know,
it was interesting actually because one of the things that I had learned was with my fear of heights, for example, in the past, I always tried to deal with it in one go. Um, like people would say, "Oh, just do a skydive, that'll
hmm
cure you." And I'm like, I can't even contemplate the idea of doing that.
right.
And I did try and do certain things, like I would try and do obstacle courses where I climbed up, on top of a kind of scramble net and tried to get onto a rope. And I always ended up in fear and panic, crying my eyes out and failing. But I really wanted to do the Inca Trail, and I thought I have to overcome this fear because I don't know what I'm going to be faced with. So,
Right.
and then I realized, you know what? You don't have to go beyond. Okay, everybody tells you got to leave your comfort zone way behind. You don't. I just expanded it gently. So I started off a little bit at a time, and I
hmm
used obviously all my coaching and my own NLP um, kind of methods. But
hmm
in addition, to help me, I got a friend of mine to give me a couple of EFT sessions,
hmm
emotional freedom technique.
Okay.
And that combined with my own stuff helped me. But the key is not trying to go from 0 to 10 in one go. The key
Right.
is to just go from 0 to 1. And then all of a sudden you go, all right, so now I'm at 1. I'm not 0 anymore. And then go from 1 to 2
Right.
and then 2 to 3. And then gradually it's like, yeah, okay, I'm not comfortable with heights, but I'm not a complete 0. I'm at 3. And then you go from maybe 3 to 4, and then all of a sudden you get, oh, this is cool, this is working. And then you go from 4 to 6. And
hmm
then all of a sudden, you expand your comfort zone, but without having to scare yourself to death in the
Right.
process. And it's the same with any fear. You can do it where you give yourself wins and because
hmm
if you try and do too much, all you do is set yourself up for losing and
Yes.
disaster, and then it can actually create more trauma than you had
hmm
before. So it's about taking it literally step by step. And like now, I'm really cool with most. I mean, if you saw that video on Kilimanjaro, you can see there's quite a drop next to me.
It is.
Now, I was enjoying myself massively. Now, that drop was probably about 10 feet. If there was
Mhm.
a drop of about, I don't know, 100 feet, I would have been a lot more scared.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Or if I was roped up and attached
hmm
to something, I would be fine. Even if I was a couple hundred meters up, I would be fine.
Right.
If I'm attached to something. But then that's quite sensible. You don't want to be scrambling over ledges. And it's quite funny. I sometimes see videos of, these free climbers doing El Capitan in Yosemite. And they're like several hundred meters up and they're not on ropes. They're just clinging to the side of the rock. Now, I'm going to be honest, that would scare me to death.
Right. That would scare me
Yeah.
too, because
But
one
I
slip
think
of a rock.
yeah, but that's a healthy feeling
Yes.
designed to keep me safe.
Yes.
There's a difference between being reckless
And having common
and
sense.
so I wouldn't stand, for example, right on the edge of a big cliff and just look down and go, oh,
Right.
look at that, because
Right.
anything can happen. But um let's say I have a healthy respect now for
Yes.
heights and drops, but I'm no longer paralyzed by fear the way that I used to be. And it's because I did it a little bit at a time and I built my confidence as I went along. And that's what I would suggest to other people. It doesn't matter if your fear is heights, flying, speaking in public, anything really. It's just do it little bit by little bit, and then you can make progress, and then all of a sudden it seems easier.
Right. And that's what I was thinking, like even the fear of speaking, because I've had a fear of speaking in public, because I've done, different I've done only like two speaking engagements in my life. So I figured, okay, well, maybe I can start off with a podcast, right? And I can speak,
Yeah,
like, without looking at people. I'm behind the screen, and
exactly.
that's my step of wanting, okay, to be like, okay, now I can, step in front of 10 people, and then make that 10 people may turn into 30, and that's my,
That's
gradual
exactly
steps.
it.
Yes, exactly. So I love
Yeah,
how you placed that. I love how you took that one step at a time. Say, start off at 0 and then go to 1. Like, okay, I made it to 1, and then you gradually make it up to 10. So that's really a good analogy on that as well. Um, that definitely helped me a lot. So I definitely, definitely
cool.
taking notes. I'm definitely taking notes.
Cool.
Definitely taking notes. Also, you had put on there, you had the health issues in 2019. Is that where you were talking about the weight and
Yeah, when they back in 2018, I ended up in hospital. I was actually in the UK, and I ended up in hospital, and I discovered I had massive high blood pressure,
hmm
and I had some heart thing going on that turned out to be minor,
Okay,
fortunately, in the end.
great.
Basically, my heart beats very slightly out of sync,
hmm
so the ventricles don't beat exactly at the same time. They're just like, it's only a nanosecond difference, but they pick
Right.
it up on one of these like ECG things.
hmm
Um, and I realized, I mean, I was really overweight. I was about 50 odd pounds. I was more than 50 pounds overweight, but I realized that, you know what? If I don't lose the weight and start looking after my fitness,
hmm
I'm never going to be able to do the things I want to do. And I always wanted to do things like the Inca Trail. I'd always
hmm
been, sort of fascinated with South American culture. So the Incas, the Aztecs, the Mayans, and all the rest of it. I'd heard of
hmm
Machu Picchu and Inca Trail, but it was always one day. I'll do that one day.
hmm
And before I know it, kind of like 30 years have gone by
Yes.
and I haven't done it. And
Yes.
I'm like, well, if I don't do something about this and do it now, it's never going to happen. So,
Right.
and this was the key as well. I never really had a reason to take care of my weight and fitness before. But once I set myself, I'm going to go and hike the Inca Trail, I
hmm
now had a strong enough motivation to finally start being sensible with what I was eating and start exercising because I had a goal. Because if you don't have a reason, if you don't have a good enough reason to do anything, it's like, oh yeah, I
Yeah.
can't be bothered today, or oh, I fancy some chocolate or some ice cream or something.
Right.
But I knew that the Inca Trail was going to be hard,
Mhm.
and then it was going to be 10 times harder if I had to lug all that weight with me.
True.
And if I, I didn't want to suffer, I wanted to enjoy it. So I lost, I think I lost a total of 51 pounds.
Awesome.
Um, yeah, in about 8 months. And then I enjoyed how that felt, and the fact that I
Right.
could get out there and do things. And I remember when I was doing one of my training routes up a hill, and I could feel my legs and my body working. And I'm like, this is what it feels like to feel strong
Right.
and to feel healthy. And I really liked it. So, when I came back, I thought, well, it would be really easy now to get back into old, the same old habits. And of
Right.
course, then we had the pandemic, and we couldn't go out hiking and
Right.
exercising. And yeah, sure, the weight started to go back on because I wasn't being active again.
Right.
And then I thought, nah, right, okay, let's give myself another reason. All right, somebody mentioned Kilimanjaro, let's look into that. So I did. And then, of course, I had to start training for that, and I loved it. And now I'm kind of quite addicted to the whole, challenging myself really and seeing what I'm capable of. I'm doing a charity trek in Costa Rica in November.
Oh,
Uh,
cool.
and that's going to be different because rather than being altitude and steep, it's going to
Right.
be distance and in the heat. So it's going to be a different kind of challenge. So, but I think it's always nice to have something to aim for.
Yes.
I
Yes,
think
it
that
is.
helps. That helps massively.
Yeah, it does. It definitely does. Like you said, because if you don't have any goals or something that you challenge yourself to do, you will be stuck. You'll be going around the same,
Yeah,
vicious circle all the time, every day, every day. And it's
yeah, and
like,
it needs to be fun. I mean, I can't think of anything worse than going to a gym. Now, there are some people who really enjoy going to a gym,
right.
but it's not for me. And it comes back to what I was saying earlier in our conversation. It's all about knowing yourself.
Yes.
I enjoy dancing and I enjoy going out and hiking in nature, and that's where I get my exercise. Sure, when I'm training for something like Kilimanjaro, I did additional work, but I got a personal trainer to work with me in my house. I could not. Uh, the idea of going to a gym was not for me.
Right.
So
Right.
again, it's doing what works for you as an individual. Now, some people love the gym, some people love classes. It's all about what works for the individual, really,
That is so
and
true.
work with it. Yeah,
That is, yeah, that's definitely true. And then also not just for exercise, it also gives you like a peace of mind, like I said, release of stress when you able to, work towards those challenges and those goals that you're reaching for, like you're exercising to, meet this goal that you have coming up, but you also have a peace of mind doing it. It's not, you're not stressed out about it. You don't have anything that's weighing you down because of it. So yeah, that's
yeah,
definitely
that's very true. Yeah, and the other thing I believe that is really good for peace of mind and just for getting rid of stress and everything, and that is to spend as much time as possible out in nature.
yes,
I couldn't believe how much more powerful the coaching exercises that I was doing, how much more powerful it is when you do that outside in nature. Number one, if you get out of your usual environment,
mm-hmm.
it breaks the patterns. And if you just get in connect with nature, it doesn't matter if you live near the coast and you go for a walk on the beach,
Right,
fantastic. If you live near mountains or forests, great. If you live in the middle of a massive city, just go for a walk in the park,
yes, mm-hmm.
and or spend time, sitting on a bench with your journal, and just being outdoors in nature is so healing and stress releasing. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's what I believe. That's what I believe it was created for, to,
Mm.
give that feeling for us. So also, I know you've been talking about life coaching. So you are a life coach, right?
Yeah, I've been a life coach now for crikey, over 20 years. I was coaching before that as part of my role in corporate land. So yeah, I've been doing it a long while now.
Okay, so what made you want to go into life coaching? Just by life experiences or just
I kind of started off working in a bank in
hmm
financial services, and I hated it. But the part that I found that I enjoyed was I had to give presentations,
hmm
and I had to teach people how, like how a mortgage worked or how an investment worked. And I found that I really enjoyed and I was good at the teaching and presentation side of things. So I
hmm
moved from that into training and development. And then, as part of my role in training and development, I started coaching. So it was all part of my job to start with. And then, about 23 years ago now, I left corporate world and started my own business. And then, of course, the more I learned about the mind and coaching, and I thought, what better way to make a living than helping other people,
yes.
and especially helping them to achieve their dreams. So that's and then, of course, when I went through stuff, I
hmm
realized how helpful it was, that got me through it. So yeah, it was a bit of both, really.
Yeah, so it all blended together and worked together
Yeah,
for
it did.
all for the good. Yes, that's a good thing where you can take your personal, your business, and everything else that has happened. You can blend it and use it to,
Yeah,
as you help yourself, as you're walking through your journey, you're also holding somebody else's hand and
yeah.
bringing them through it as well. So that's definitely a benefit as well. Okay, so is there like any other last advice you would give to, our audience that you would like to reach?
I think the biggest thing is take some time out to get to know yourself. And never, ever, ever let anybody else tell you what you can and can't do. I had
hmm
people tell me that hiking wasn't for me and I couldn't do it. Don't listen to anybody who tells you you can't do something. If you want to do it, you'll find a way.
Right,
And in terms of relationships, find somebody who's compatible, and just pay attention to what your gut is telling you at all times. Our intuition very rarely fails us. We have to learn to
right.
listen to it more. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely as a woman, I believe God made a woman a special way to where
Yeah.
she has those intuitions, she has those feelings and emotions to where she can connect,
Yeah.
with certain situations, and that she'll grab it more than faster than I think a typical man would. So I think that's the reason, that's the way we were made. So yeah, as a
Yeah,
woman, we should pay
absolutely.
attention. Yeah, we should
Yeah.
pay
I mean,
attention more.
guys have their gifts, and us women, women have our gifts, and
Yes.
there's place for it all. Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome. Well, I definitely enjoyed this conversation. This has helped me truly a lot to where,
Thank you so much. I've
yeah,
really enjoyed
to
it too.
to experience more and to get out there, and
Yeah, get
enjoy
out there and have
life.
fun. Life is all about having fun.
It is. It's definitely, and then helping other people as well,
Yeah,
get through their, journeys and stuff, because everything doesn't always have to be, on the downhill of everything. It doesn't always have to be negative or anything like that. You can turn it around and make it a
absolutely. Yeah.
positive. So definitely enjoyed the conversation. Let me know, or let the people know, how they can reach you, how they can become,
Yeah.
become a coach or whatever.
Okay, so my website is tinasibley.com. So
Mhm.
it's nice and easy, my name. And find me on Facebook. That's where I hang out mainly. But yeah, my website is tinasibley.com. So, and then you can get me through there.
Okay, sounds good. Well, definitely enjoyed the conversation, and hopefully we can chat another time really soon on or off the podcast.
Sure.
And
That would be
then
lovely.
definitely, definitely. Well, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I will definitely be following you on Facebook so I can see your journeys and what you are experiencing, so I can motivate myself to be like, you know what, I can do what Tina do. I got this.
Yeah, absolutely. You absolutely can. And thank you so much for inviting me. I've
uh,
really enjoyed our conversation.
absolutely, absolutely. Enjoy your day.
Yeah, you too.
All right,
Bye
bye bye.
bye.
Thank you
for listening to Let's Be Real 100% when we're 100% real about life. We hope that you enjoyed the topic today, and we hope that you trust God more and more each day. And we hope to see you next week.